Marc. I appreciate you
hmm
hopping on. Why don't you give us a quick introduction on who you are?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So, my name is Mark Davis. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in Long Island, New York. Specialize working mostly with people who are struggling with depression, anxiety, and mostly suicidal ideation.
Which is a very heavy field and subfield in that niche.
It really is a lot of therapists. I can understand why are kind of afraid to work with it. So, I specialize in it. So, I'm one of the few in New York State who specialize in suicidal ideation and intervention.
Yeah, yeah. If I could use your own words, you said at one point suicide is your jam.
It really is. It's one of my. It's weird to say, but it is one of my favorite demographics to work with.
Yeah, I can see that because I know this is not the kind of the topic that we're talking about today, but it's just probably a very rewarding topic.
It is, which is definitely a conversation for another day, but it really, really is.
Yeah, absolutely. We can maybe do like round two on our podcast because you were my very first guest on the Phoenix Nest
That's true.
podcast.
That's true.
Nice, nice. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we are celebrating your successes in the fitness realm. And so
Yeah.
we've been working together. I'm pulling up the data now. So if I look to my side, I'm looking at that. We've been working together since February of last year. So what is that, a
hmm
year and 5 months? Yeah. And we've been through a lot of, I don't want to
hmm
say trials and tribulations, but a lot of
Revisions.
um, revisions. I think that's good. I was gonna say goal changes. And so let's, if we can, go back in time a year and a half roughly. What were you thinking? Where were you in that mindset? Where were you a year and a half ago that made you want to potentially explore online coaching?
Yeah. I think it was because about a year and a half ago, so we were out of the pandemic by then, but I had noticed that as a result of the pandemic, um, I was at the heaviest I'd ever been, and I was trying, whether it was different diets or different exercise regimens, I just couldn't keep it couldn't keep the consistency. I didn't know at the time that I had undiagnosed ADHD, so that was played a role in it too.
Mm.
But I definitely realized that I needed guidance, and so I saw your stuff. Obviously, I had followed you before we started working together. I liked your stuff, and then we actually, had that consultation call, and that's pretty much what sent me over the edge. I would say is that well, you're geeky nerdy. You seem to you do really get it, and you seem like I don't know, the fit was just perfect. And that was the kind of person I was like, okay, I need this kind of person who can help me to set me straight, keep me on my goals, and also use some like geeky references in the interim.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I definitely will say you, and this is something we can talk about later, you always ask some of the most interesting questions when it comes to like health and fitness. And it's not like interesting as in like completely off the wall, but it's like interesting as questions that like I have to think about. And
Mm,
it shows that you are not only like an active participant obviously in the program, but you are also very mentally invested in the program design and just like the inner workings of it. And so it's good to kind of see those wheels turning because it makes some of my wheels that haven't turned in a while turning as well. And so
right.
it's good.
And so to add on that a little bit also is so something that I pride myself in my practice is that I'm very science based. I make sure that my stuff is based on the literature, and that's something that really drew me towards you. That's another thing that really put me over the edge is that you have your master's in I think it was nutrition or it was health science. What was it?
Exercise physiology.
Thank you. And so I knew that you knew your stuff, you knew the science, you knew the literature, and you weren't just going to give me bullshit. So that really helped a lot also.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because I try to be, there's a good blend between science based and client centered, right?
hmm
And I'm not trying to turn this into a lecture, but a lot of times people coming right out of college will say, this is what we're doing because this is what the science says and there's no deviation from it. And you know as well as I do, being in your profession, we can create the perfect program, but it means fuck all if you don't stick with it.
Right.
And so, knowing that we kind
It's
of
got
have
to
a
be tailored.
foundation, yeah, exactly. It's like kind of start science based and then tailor it to fit what is going to fit your lifestyle.
Exactly. And so
Yeah,
you were able to do that, which again, you just blended all these things together. It's like, this is the perfect cocktail, exactly what I was looking for.
right. Just kind of wrap it all that up in the nerdy wrapping paper and call it good, right?
Exactly.
No, I
Yeah,
appreciate
exactly
that.
like that.
Awesome, awesome. So, what were our goals when we first started working together? I know you said kind of general weight loss, but do you remember exactly what we were shooting for?
If I remember correctly, I wanted two things at the same time, and I remember in the mindset. that I was, that I didn't think you could have both at the same time. And so I just tried to focus on one. And then I would like jump in between, again, part of the ADHD brain, also part of just my own quirkiness and mishigas.
Hmm.
So the two things were like, I wanted to lose weight because, again, I was the heaviest I'd ever been. So I wanted to lose weight, but I also wanted to build muscle. Um, yes, to be stronger, but it was more so for the aesthetic a little bit of it. Like I wanted to have a bigger chest, I wanted to have bigger arms. I didn't want to have chicken legs, things like that.
Absolutely. And I'm pulling up our data. How when we first for our first, we'll say 6 months or so, we kind of experimented with a few different things. I mean, we've been experimenting, and I want to talk about that here in a minute. But
Hmm.
how did it feel? Because we were balancing, we were trying to do that more of a recomp, right? Where we were trying to lose weight and build strength at the same time. How was that feeling? Because we did it for like I think the first year, or first 6 months at least. But how was that feeling? Do you
You
remember?
mean the bump up in calories?
We did a few things. So we were trying to actually taper down calories while
Hmm.
bumping up strength training,
Yes.
and your weight was actually going up, and so we had a mindset dilemma, if you will,
Hmm. Yeah,
where you were
definitely.
liking, and you can kind of take the reins here, but you were liking building muscle,
Hmm.
and you realized that maybe the weight on the scale isn't the best indicator, and so we had a
Yeah,
shift. Do you remember that?
yeah, yeah. So that was definitely fucking with me because I obviously, you put it exactly right. There was a mindset issue that I put way too much uh, weight, no pun intended,
Hmm.
on the numbers on the scale. And I wasn't really thinking about the holistic aspect of it. That it could have been a water weight, and I didn't really know this stuff all that well. It could have been water weight. It could just be increase in muscle. This is normal, and I just was too focused on the number, and that was an issue. And so we, went back and forth on a couple of things, and then after a long time, it's a testament to your patience that we finally settled on something that really really worked.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like every time we do a check-in call, which is every other week, it's like, all right, what do we focus on now? Do we want to bump up
Yeah,
calories and build strength? Do you want to taper back down? And half the time you're like, I don't really know. Let's just keep things going as is.
it's no, it's true. And again, patience of a saint. I really do appreciate it. And that's the thing. You balance out that patience while also that okay, let's figure this out. Like you're gentle yet firm. Like the SpongeBob meme with the jellyfishing net.
Hmm.
Gentle, firmly grasp
Firmly
it.
grasp it. Yeah.
Exactly. So you're gentle yet firm, and you have really good patience. That really helped to over months. Honestly, it took just because of my own mishigas again to find the balance that really worked well for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing that I would do is because you kind of get lost in do I want to increase calories? Do I want to do this, or that, or the other? And I would say, okay, let's zoom out. What are we trying to achieve? And you would say, I just want to try to lean out. I really don't really care what the number on the scale looks like. So then
Yeah.
I would say, okay, let's maybe do a more mild caloric deficit while building up
Hmm.
strength. So then we can do a recomp, albeit both will kind of happen a little bit slower. And I
Hmm.
think ultimately that is what led us down the path that we've been doing for the last year or so.
Yeah, and it's helped a lot. I mean, I think, like you said, I was the first guest on the Phoenix Nest. So if you look back at that video, I would imagine that I look a little more filled out now than I did back then.
Yeah, especially your traps, chest, and shoulders, and looking
Yeah,
a little bit
focusing
bigger.
mostly on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, you've actually gained, you end up losing like close to 10 pounds, I think, about like 5 or 6 pounds, and then you end up gaining about 8 more pounds back, and so we're actually a little bit higher than where we started, by about 3 or so pounds, but it looks like recomp body composition has changed. So talk to me about how that has been feeling for you.
Yeah. So once I stopped really focusing on the number and started really thinking, okay, what is this number representing? Like the water weight, the muscle, the fat, like things of that nature. It helped to not really put too much emphasis on that. I was focusing more so on what I was seeing. Okay, my muscles look bigger. Um, I'm getting compliments from my girlfriend, so that always a good
Yeah.
motivator.
Yep.
Um, and that's really what allowed the mindset shift to change and to stay that consistency is something I say in therapy all the time, and it applies to this too. And I just had to, apply it here is trust the process, and
Hmm.
I allowed myself to trust the process, and it did not fail me. And I think that's really what made the most difference, honestly, is that trust in the process, but also the trust in your knowledge and expertise.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it wasn't like, again, to reiterate what we talked about, it wasn't like you were just a passive entity. It
No,
was, we're creating a program together. There may have
yeah,
been times where there might have been a little bit of shiny object syndrome where you wanted to bounce from one thing to the other, and I might have kind of pulled you back a little bit. But it
hmm
was, like you said, let's trust the process. I just had a
yeah,
call. I just did a testimonial with Kristen, and she said the exact same thing, that she would do something for like 2 months, not see the results that she wanted, and then would jump to something else. And so you're constantly in that cycle of starting something new and new and new over and over and over again, and not sticking to something long enough to see results. And
hmm
a lot of people fall into that because of that shiny object syndrome and the novelty of something new and exciting.
right. And again, ADHD plays a role in that too. In my opinion, like a lot of times in my practice, someone who has say like depression or anxiety, one of the first things I'll say like, how is your nutrition? How is your sleep? How's your diet? How is your exercise? And in
Hmm.
this case, here it'll be like, okay, to help you to say the consistency with here, okay, if you have ADHD and it's diagnosed, or you want a stimulant or on a medication, because I feel like that combination would be really needed for them to see the strongest results. And honestly, ever since I started taking my medication, it helped with this process here. And so that, again, was another really big thing that helped in my process to get as big as I am now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what does what does a normal week, broad strokes, what does a normal workout program look like for us just right now?
Okay, so the regimens that I have on those couple of days, or 2, 3 days.
Yeah, don't even give me that. Just give me like broad strokes on what your week looks like. How many days do you work out? What are your daily habits? Because I want to talk about your daily habits because that's something that's unique to
Got
you.
it. Yeah. So daily habits. So I have some daily habits. So those daily habits that I'm the one who suggested, and you said, yeah,
Hmm.
Matt, let's do it 100%. Those are at first they changed over time. At first, I think
Hmm.
it was like I wanted to do like 20 push-ups a day. Then it was like 50. Then at a certain point, it was 100. And I realized, okay, you know what? Just doing 100 push-ups every day was kind of boring to me, and I didn't wasn't really a fan of that. So you said, okay, so instead of doing more reps, what if we did fewer reps but just put weights on you,
Hmm.
made it heavier? And so I didn't even think of that. That was a great idea. Got a ruck, put some weight in them, and now I do like I think 7 or 10 on with 40 pounds on my back, and that helps to make it go quicker, which is really good for my ADHD brain while still getting the results. And so we saw that that's been working, and then we added, okay, let's. I said I want some more dailies, and so we added some calf raises, also
Hmm.
some pull-ups and chin-ups that were also weighted. And so that's what's been helping me to maintain, even on the days that I don't have a whole like workout regimen. Um, that help those dailies help to keep me at least maintain the muscle, and those on those days where I have a full workout regimen, that helps to build more muscle, at least the way I understand it.
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, you do two strength workouts a week that are only like 30 minutes long. They're nothing super crazy. They're about 40 minutes long.
Nothing crazy.
And then we also have a more hit slash weighted cardio day, which
Mm-hmm.
is also around that 40 minutes. So three workouts in the week, and then in addition we do have the daily habits where it's
Yeah.
push ups and pull ups, and then that's every other day, and then every other day is calf raises and chin ups, and so it's
Mm-hmm.
nothing crazy. When we were doing like I think it was 100 push ups and like 50 pull-ups or something like that was like the highest that we got, and then we like had to
Something
taper
like
down
that.
because like you
It
said
got
that was
boring.
boring. Yeah, yeah. And I want to touch on that with ADHD here in a second, but
Yeah.
you had recently got this backpack and you're like, I want to implement this because it kind of spices things up, and so we started adding it into your workouts and your dailies. And one thing that I think is really powerful for people is to just have a daily time allotment saying, I need to do 20 minutes of exercise each day, and it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a workout, it could be a walk, it could be walking around the shopping mall. Like when you go shopping that day, that counts as your activity. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like dealer's choice, whatever you want. And that's kind of what we did with those dailies,
Mm-hmm.
while also tacking structured workouts on top of that. But I really like those dailies because they, are daily habits. And so I think that's a
Yeah.
good way to keep momentum going.
Yeah, and they're short. They go quick, so I'm able to just bang them out. During the day, like I could be cooking dinner, and while waiting for the water to boil, I just bang out 7 pull-ups, and I'm good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about that backpack or that ruck, because I know you were saying ADHD brain, things get boring,
Mm-hmm.
want to mix it
Mm-hmm.
up,
Mm-hmm.
and we did that with the backpack. and we played around with it by throwing just some weight plates in there. How has that been? Because I know we kind of shied away from it as far as the workouts, but I know we still use it for like your dailies. But how did that feel when we were mixing it up and implementing the ruck?
So it was good overall. I used it mostly when it came to squats. I know at first I was just wearing it even when I was doing like curls or any other workout, and I was testing it out. Wasn't a huge fan of it, so we kind of got rid of it for the most part. I still use it for squats, but I for that extra weight.
Hmm.
There was a time where we had two different kinds of squats. One where I was wearing it with the squats, and one where I was holding it with the
Hmm.
squats. We got rid of that second one because that didn't really work for me all that well. Just again, ADHD brain, like what works for me. Just I don't know why or not didn't work for me, but it just fucking didn't. But
Hmm.
wearing it did. Um, and honestly, it definitely gave a whole new, I guess, twist to the workouts. It almost felt a little Rock Lee-ish, or like the Turtle Hermit school, which I really liked a lot.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Did you ever feel like at any time the workouts were too overwhelming? Workouts slash entire program.
So like an so I would say in the very beginning, because I was still new to it, I didn't have the endurance that I did before. After you do a workout, it's like, okay, how difficult was this workout? And I think in the beginning, because I was still so new, didn't have the endurance, I put like very hard, and then hard later, and then moderate after that. It wasn't that the workouts were too much; I just didn't have the strength at first, and I was putting too much on myself.
Hmm.
But I had the motivation to get through them, and I mean, for me, I'm glad I did, um, because that for me, again, the process of just building that muscle, building that resistance, and that was the process that worked best for me
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, and anytime that happens, whether it's in the beginning or like if we switch phases, I always ask, do you want to tone them down or do you want to use that as a way to kind of, as a
Yeah,
goal to keep? And it's probably about 50-50. Sometimes we'll tone it down and then slowly progress it up.
yeah,
Other times we'll keep the workouts where they are and progressively kind of just build towards it, seeing that that is like our current goal line or goal post to reach for.
yeah.
And you wanted to just keep them. It's like, no, I can push
I
through it.
had
I
that
can push through
motivation.
it.
I'm like, I ain't no bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Some people call it motivation. Some people call it stubbornness. Whatever.
I think I'm more the latter.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, so that covers workouts. So nothing super crazy. We added in the ruck just to kind of spice things up, and we've kind of shied away from it a little bit to focus more on more traditional strength training because that was when we kind of made that mindset shift of
Hmm.
doing more of like a recomp slash build strength. But I want to talk about nutrition
Sure.
because you and I have been very kind of like fine tuning things to what I was saying. We were like essentially microdosing our protein by titrating upward. And
Hmm.
so let's talk about that. If you want to give a quick rundown, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, sure. So from how I remember it, we started with a relatively low protein goal because I wasn't sure how to be able to meet that while not going like way over on my calories. Um, and so it took a little getting used to learning, my style, so to speak, of when it comes to my nutrition, what works for me, what doesn't work for me. I was a big snacker, so that played a big role in it too.
Hmm.
And so over time, as I got used to, say, I don't even know what we started at. Was it 110, 120 that we started at? I don't
I
even
don't
remember.
know, but it was probably somewhere around there.
It was something like that. And as I got used to that, I'm like, okay, cool. I know how many calories I usually get with this amount of protein. I think I can get a little bit more while not going over the protein. Okay, I can do that. Okay, I think I do a bit more. And it kept going like that. I'm glad we did it that way instead of just like, going straight for like 120, 130, because I don't know if I would have been able to do that. I'm glad that we did it slowly but surely and built our way up. I think that was the best decision we made in regards to the protein.
Yeah, yeah, because protein is like you said, most people are probably like sub 20% of their calories come from protein, and I always try to get them at least there and then work our way up. And today, you and I are at 35%.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was saying we were titrating upward, it was like every check-in call we were bumping it up like 1%,
Mm-hmm.
1%, and we got up to like 35%, and which is a little bit higher than what most people do. Well, it's a lot higher than what most people do, but it's a little bit higher than where I try to get most clients. And so we're at a good spot there. And do you feel like it's overly difficult to get protein in?
No, I mean, so again, I'm a snacker, and every single check and call, there's always like a new protein snack or something that I found on Amazon. Like I had
Yeah.
no idea there were so many relatively low calorie, high protein alternatives to things. Like there was even
Yep.
cereal or even like chips. I had no idea these existed, and that definitely helped. Um, it is a little bit more on the expensive side. I'm thank goodness I'm fortunate that with my job I'm able to afford this. That I'm able to. I know not everyone is, so I understand I'm fortunate and privileged in that sense. But that definitely did help me in being able to reach my protein goal without going over my calories. And I'm always happy to find new things. Things for my sweet tooth, whether it's cereal or a protein bar or chips or a chocolate, something like that. It helps to keep it fresh also and not too like, okay, you're only eating this basically every other day of the week or every day of the week.
Hmm. Yeah, because like you said, every time during our check and call, it's like, hey, I got this new protein cereal or these protein shakes. Just recently, or during our last call, it was I got a Ninja Creamy and I have all this stuff to make
Yeah,
protein ice cream, which is
I love
awesome.
it.
How has that been going?
It's been great. I've been making a lot of different recipes. It's been awesome. I've been looking up recipes on YouTube because there's so many people who are talking about it and they give recipes, and the it has never been easier, in my opinion, to become knowledgeable on this stuff and to find recipes to know what's bullshit and what's real. That definitely you need some guidance from someone who knows what they're talking about. But in terms of
Hmm.
recipes, in terms of being able to track calories and macros, it's never been easier in all of human history.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like you were saying, there's just been within the last few years, there's just been this huge surgence of high protein snacks, like the
Hmm.
protein chips, protein cereal. Like if you can get protein cereal and protein chips, pretty much everything else is easy, like protein cookies, protein bars, protein shakes.
It's
You
awesome.
showed me the Oreo alternative that weren't like high protein, but they had a little bit more protein that you use for protein cookies and cream ice cream.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's like that's I mean that sounds like a win-win, right? Across the board.
Yeah, and even if you can't find a high protein alternative, you can at the very least find a lower calorie alternative. Like I
Yeah.
found a relatively high protein pancake mix and a basically like a I think it's a zero sugar maple syrup. Like
Yep.
I had no idea these things even existed.
Yeah, we use zero sugar syrup all the time. Not all the time, but when we do make breakfast, we use the zero calorie, zero sugar syrup.
Yeah, turkey bacon's also another great source of protein. So like I just all these things that I'm learning, and then even just from working with you, learning what a good like calorie to protein ratio is, and so that's
Hmm.
been helping to make better choices as well.
Yeah, why don't you talk about that because you kind of came up with your own formula.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I remember the exact math. So I know that the dirty formula to make it super quick is you take the calories divided by 10. If it's equal or less, or at least in the ballpark, like maybe it's off by two, whatever, it's relatively fine. Obviously, if the divide by 10, the calories are less than the protein. It's a great distribution.
Hmm.
The more direct one is divide by 12. And the way I came up with that was because 1 gram of protein is 4 calories.
Hmm.
And I remember you saying that you wanted like a third of the calories to be from protein. So,
That's how
correct?
much you should have like in your general day. But yeah,
But also, was it that the thing you have like an optimal thing to be like, hey, you want a third of the calories in this thing to be from protein or something along those
it,
lines?
in like a meal, if your meal can be roughly a third of each, that's or not a third of each, but like have like a third of your calories come from protein. That's like within a general meal, that's good. But we were talking about like the 10 calories per 1 gram of protein.
Hmm.
Where so like if you have a 100 calorie bar, you want to have roughly 10 grams of protein.
Yes.
Um, that was kind of where we started, and you extrapolated that into if this is supposed to be what my daily calories are supposed to be, let's break that
Yeah.
down into a food item,
Yep.
and that's where he came from 1/12 or whatever, and I
Yeah.
really
I came
like
with
that.
divided by 12. So it was like a third and a fourth put together. So divided by 12, and that's the exact number in my head. At least I did the math. But
Yeah,
divide by 10 is a great dirty cheat.
yeah, yeah. That's what I say when like looking for like protein bars and stuff like that, like protein snack alternatives. If you can get for every 100 calories 10 grams of protein, that's a good spot to be. Like protein shakes will be higher, it'll probably be 15 grams of protein per 100 calories, and then stuff like those protein chips are probably a little bit lower, but they are better than regular Doritos, right, where
Hmm.
they have like 1 gram of protein,
Well,
and
they're
so it's like
really
a good
good.
kind of ballpark.
Well, they're really
Yeah,
good
yeah, yeah.
because those chips are like 140 calories and 19 grams of protein, so it's a really good
Oh
distribution.
wow, so they're a lot higher than I thought they were.
Yeah, it's really good. And the Jack Link's like beef jerky is like 100 calories and 13 protein, so it's really good there. What's a huge game changer are the Fairlife like chocolate milkshake things
Yeah, yeah, they're like 42 grams of protein if you get like
for
the protein
230
rich ones.
calories. It's a great distribution.
Yeah, and you were using those for your Ninja Creamy, right?
Yeah, I used a couple for Ninja Creamy. I did that once or twice. I haven't made too much ice cream, but I've been trying to come up with different recipes. I'm usually mostly just regular Fairlife milk, the fat-free Fairlife milk. Very much so. I love it. One, it's high in protein. Two, it lasts fucking forever. I love it.
Throughout all of this, how has your relationship with food been?
Definitely changed. Um, in I would say in a good way. Like I was never terribly concerned about what I was eating, and I'm still not. Um, but I'm a lot more mindful in the sense that okay, I know how many calories this is, and I know that there is a budget. And I'll be honest, at first I was scared, like, oh my God, I've heard so many stories, like, people were tracking calories and it was related to eating disorders, like, am I going to develop one? And I really like, no, there's a difference between being mindful or aware and obsessing.
Hmm.
And so I made sure just be aware of it. And if I went over, okay, the world's not going to end.
Right.
Tomorrow's a new day. I can always do it differently.
Yeah,
That,
and I
that was
feel
my
like
mindset.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there's definitely something there to where you can get hyper excessive about the numbers on the scale and numbers and calories and macros and everything like that for sure. But to then just lump everything in saying tracking is toxic, I think is toxic in itself, right? Or you would say maladapted.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it as just acquiring data. And I know we've talked about this to where is budgeting your finances toxic because you're tracking how much money comes in and out each month? No. Can it be? Can you hyperfixate on it and pinch every penny? Yeah. Where you're like literally rationing out toilet paper squares? Yeah, that would probably be maladaptive. But is just over generally tracking toxic or bad? No. And so we're acquiring data and we're just using that data to come up with assessments on what needs to be changed. Do we need to keep microdosing and titrating up protein? Sure, until we hit 35%. Apparently, it
Sure.
was our sweet spot. Um,
Which
and
worked for
so,
me,
yeah,
and that's the main thing. Like I know everyone's journey is different, and that's what
hmm
worked well for me.
yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely a key thing because you are, like I said, a little bit higher on protein than where most clients are, but that's because you've been kind of pushing yourself to see how high you can go while trying to get essentially the highest protein option for pretty much everything, whether it's meals and snacks. And one thing that I bet has changed, because I know it has, is your eyes have been opened to what can be under the umbrella of like quote unquote healthy, to where it's like I
Hmm.
have these high protein snacks. I can have chips guilt free because they're higher in protein, which you can have chips guilt free as long as they're
Yeah,
budgeted in appropriately. But you are, now are saying, okay, look, I'm having these chips. I'm essentially having my cake and eating it too, right? I'm having my chips, I'm enjoying it, and they're contributing to my protein goal.
100%. No, like there is no junk food. Like yes, there's foods that
Yeah.
are higher in protein, that are higher in calories, and there's not too much nutritional value to them. But it doesn't make them junk food. Food is fuel, and
Hmm.
I really, really liked that a very healthy mindset. Um, Obviously, there's things that are more nutrition, but it doesn't mean that something is junk. Doesn't mean something is automatically unhealthy unless it's like obviously going to kill you like a wild mushroom.
Yeah, yeah. I say the only bad food for you is the food you don't like or food that's you're allergic to.
But yeah, and I think that's exactly the way to go about it. And so that helped to change my mindset on things as well. That if I go out, one weekend and I have a drink or I get a dessert that obviously isn't high in protein at all, but high in calories, like okay, cool, I can have this. I'm not gonna die. The world's not gonna end. I didn't just fuck up my entire diet. Now I'm enjoying life, and I go back on the diet tomorrow.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And if you are able to kind of plan for a night out by front loading most of your protein, cool. But if not, then let's say the next day, Sunday or whatever it is, just pick things back up like nothing happened.
Yeah,
And rather than saying, okay, this whole weekend shot, I'm gonna binge eat everything Sunday just to get it out of my system, my one last fix, and then Monday start up fresh again because then that kind of already puts you more and more behind the eight ball rather than just saying
hmm,
let's pick things back up the way they were.
exactly. And that helped to help shift my mindset as well, and it's been a huge help, honestly.
I like that because that perfectionist mindset, that relationship with food, and all of that has been probably what's crippling to most people. That mindset literally keeps people from taking action and keeps people where they are
Yes,
for the rest of their lives until they oftentimes lead to an early grave. And so just chipping away at that mindset. Um, you probably very much know that on the mental health side of things, where
yeah,
that all or nothing mindset, especially when it comes to game overing yourself, um, can
a
definitely play a
lot of
part.
work with a lot of that, unfortunately. But again, as you see with your clients, I see my patients. There is definitely a way out of that. If Again, if a person is open to having that change, they can definitely have that change and live a much more fulfilling, much happier life, whether mentally or physically or both.
Yeah, because it's a huge weight off of your shoulders, in our sense physically, but also like mentally as well, to where it's like
Hmm.
I don't have to be perfect with everything. And that I think has been a huge mindset shift for just a lot of people that I've experienced.
You do good work.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I've been in the game for long enough. Um, okay, okay. Over our year and a half that we've been working together, I would say what do you say would be your like proudest moment or proudest achievement, or was there like one particular instance that stuck out to you where you're like, you know what, that was a really badass moment. It can be physical, it can be mental, it can be anything.
Honestly, the thing I think that has been the biggest, like, I would say, a game changer. Like, if that works also. The biggest game changer thing that's been the biggest for me has been that fucking ruck. And
Yeah.
honestly, and something that I noticed, and I know I said this to you also, is with not just with the ruck, but also with the weights also, that before these weights, that even just lifting them, picking them off the floor, they were heavy.
Hmm.
And when I'm curling them, so even though they might still feel a little heavy while curling, like I'm picking them off the floor and they don't feel heavy anymore. Like I'm curling still feel heavy, but I thought that was crazy. I'm like, oh my god, my body is changing. What the hell happened? And that was just like a huge eye opener for me, that what I'm doing is working.
Yeah, it's where you're like, is this weight right? Do I have 15 pounds instead of 25? And you're like, no, no, that's right.
It was 35 pounds. I'm like, are 35 pounds too? Is that too light for me now? Do I need to go up in weight? Like that's insane to me.
Yeah, yeah. Because didn't we just talk about you buying more weights?
Yeah, yeah. I just bought more weights. I bought a 25-pound thing now. I'm increasing the 35 pounds. I put them up to um I think 37 and a half, or was it 40? I have to look at them to know which one it is. Yeah, I'm increasing the weights. It's becoming a challenge again, but that's, I don't know, it's part of it. And it's just so interesting to, I don't know, witness the progression of the body.
Yeah,
I have no better way to put it.
yeah. Progress is the best motivator, right?
It really is. I mean,
Nice.
compliments are also a good motivator too.
Yeah, well, that's also a sign of progress.
Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
there's, people will say you need to be internally motivated, which is true, but that extrinsic motivation is nice too. That external
It's
validation.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's a good little, whipped cream and cherry on top.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Plus, it shows that yes, what I'm doing is working because other people are seeing it, seeing
Exactly,
the changes.
exactly. I love that other people are noticing it's not just me, and other people can see, and like, okay, it's working. And yeah, I want to continue this for both selfish and selfless reasons.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Not to go on a tangent here, but like when I first meet with people, and this you may have said this, but I can't remember. It's they're like, I want to just look good with my shirt off. I know that's vain, blah blah blah. And it's like, no, you should enjoy the way you look.
Yeah,
Shirtless, naked, whatever. Like you should
yeah.
enjoy that. I don't think that that's vain or negative or that toxic masculinity that you and I talk about. It's you should be confident in yourself and who you are and in your body and the way it's shaped. Um, and I don't think
Yes,
there's anything wrong with that. And I think people
not
that
at all.
say that there's something wrong with that, they are unhappy with themselves.
I would agree. I get, yeah, I think it's important to like how you look. Like, yes, obviously, accept yourself for who you are, and all of that, which is true. I'm not gonna downplay it. It's 100% true. But there's no reason why you can't be aesthetically pleasing too. You can have both.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the mantra, I'm doing my best and I'm trying to do better.
Yes, because we're not perfect, and the idea that you need to be perfect or you are perfect, it's very damaging. And
Hmm.
look, there's nothing wrong with always wanting to do better. Having not to be a tangent, part of the book that I'm writing is, having goals, having that drive. It leads to happiness. It leads to contentment, because if you just achieve something and everything, and now where do I go from here? Well,
Hmm.
now it's like, well, what's life worth now? You need to do better. Drive.
Hmm.
Have some motivation to do something.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You can be happy with the progress that you've made, whether it's fitness, financial, career, like whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Be happy with the progress that you've been making and also strive for more. Even if you're hitting certain
Yes.
milestones to where you think, okay, I'm done, I'm done. Well, let's keep going, keep going. And then if you
Yes.
do kind of get to a point where it's like, you know what, I have hit all of my goals, you can pivot to something else. Like instead of saying, I want to get shredded six pack, now I want to get really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Or I want to start investing or something like that. So there's always moves that can be made to keep you always motivationally hungry and keep you moving.
Yeah. And I think also a big lesson that I definitely learned um, is that you can, as you just said just now, you can change your goal and it's totally fine. Like you want, again, want to lose weight, but I want to build muscle. I like how I look, but it's really fine to shift your goals. That's fine. And that, there's nothing wrong with that. It just means that there's lots of things you want. It might help to do one thing at a time, but and to have a good plan for it. There's nothing wrong with wanting multiple things and even shifting around. It just means you're looking for the thing that you want the most, the thing that is with your highest order values in regards to your health, and that's, I think, totally healthy and totally awesome to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And we were switching our goals pretty much weekly at one point.
Well, bi-weekly, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
which is which
Um,
which, which is fine because but that was what was needed in order to find the real goals that meant the most to me.
Yeah, there's definitely something to experimenting, and we've talked about that a lot throughout our journey. Where it's like, okay, let's experiment. What are your thoughts about this? Let's give it a try, because there's no failure. There's only feedback, right? And
Yes.
if we overshot protein, and you're like, hey, that might be too much. We did this with calories a couple times, where it's like,
Hmm.
hey, I think that might be too much. My weight shot up. Can we taper it down? Or I'm like literally having to gorge myself to eat that much, or vice versa. I'm like always hungry. Can we bump it up? And so it's like we're not chasing perfection. We're chasing
Yes.
consistency, and there's going to be changes that need to be made, and we did that quite a bit.
Yeah, and I think that was fine because I'm a scientist at heart, so experimentation was what I needed, and I'm a big fan of, was it Thomas Edison that came up with this quote? That when the light bulb didn't work like 1,000 times, it's like, no, I didn't fail 1,000 times. It's found 1,000 ways it didn't work, and I think
Yeah,
that's
I found
what
a
we did.
thousand
And I
ways to
think
not make a light bulb.
exactly, and that's what we were doing. We found 1,000 ways that didn't work, and we found the one that did.
Hmm. Yeah, and that mindset is hard because a lot of times people will see that as I thought I failed 1,000 times, and in reality, it's like we just need to try what works and what doesn't. And if we're circling it into video game terms, like let's say we're playing Elden Ring or a Souls game, a lot of
Hmm.
times the bosses are meant to be done through trial and error. You got to learn their move sets. You got to learn how to dodge around them and roll around them. But if you came in saying I need to beat them on my first try and then just give up if you don't, then it
Hmm.
creates that all or nothing mindset and the game's not fun anymore.
1,000,000%. And the analogy that came to my mind was a game of Guess Who, where
Mm.
this one characteristic. Okay, yeah, we're getting rid of all the people that don't have that characteristic, and then okay, now this characteristic, this characteristic. So when we were doing the experimentation, we were keeping pieces of things, and then, until we found okay, this accumulation of things that worked. Okay, now we found the macro thing that works for you.
Hmm. And it
Just
works
like
for
a game of
you
Guess
right
Who.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
which is
so it's
totally
like
fine.
not. Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Cool, cool. Do you have any words of wisdom, any remarks, or anything like that to say to somebody who might be traveling down the same path as you, maybe a little bit behind you, or like they're interested in coaching but maybe a little skeptical or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, one, trust the process when you get on that road. Two is uh, perfectionism is the enemy of completion. You will not get what you want if it has to be exactly perfect. You just The big advice that I always give my patients is do it now, as bad as it is, make it perfect later.
Hmm.
For right now, just do it, as bad as it might be. And the third one is honestly, if you're not sure, try it just for a month. And if you don't like it, you can always stop. But by not trying it, it's always going to be a what if.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of the mindset I had with my starting my business. But there is definitely something to, I always say, build the habit and then improve it rather than
Mm-hmm.
try to create a perfect habit. And so, like you were saying, do it because you can't edit a blank page, right? That's what writers say. So just do the
Yeah.
first draft. And that's how we create habits. Let's do our first draft and make changes. And you and I have done that.
Yep.
And that's the best way. And to I have found that's the best way to do it because it helps break the ice. We're moving, we're building momentum, and we can constantly kind of improve the process.
Right. And I mean, listen, you've dealt with my Meshuggah ass for months on end. So like, if you're someone who wants to do this, like he is a very patient person. You couldn't find someone better who's both patient and knows their shit.
Well, I appreciate that. I think those are good words to end on. So we're coming up on time anyway. So
Yeah,
Mark, always a pleasure. I appreciate it, and let's keep kicking ass and taking names as we go.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for everything.
Yep, no problem.